It got cut off because I did the thing. It minimized and also turns off the video. So there are three things that I want you to know. Three things. One is commit to doing whatever you're doing. You don't have to be the best at it, but you need to commit to what you're doing in that moment, in that time frame. Don't be someone who is changing a tire and then answering your girlfriend's text because y'all are arguing. Don't be going back and forth. Commit to one thing or the other. And I get it. You're going to call your girlfriend and have to go, honey, boo, bae, I love you. Daddy's got to work. You got to give me a minute. You can't be blowing up my phone, causing all kinds of drama on my screen when I'm, daddy's trying to get the job done. I'm trying to learn something here to grab my paycheck so that we might have a decent go at it in the future. You want to live someplace nice? You want to have a boat? You want to have a nice car? You got to let daddy work. You can't be blowing my phone up going, why didn't you kiss me on my cheek this morning? Because I was late for class or something. I got to go do my thing, right? And when you're done having that conversation and you go, okay, I'm done with you for now. We'll revisit this at 4 when I'm done with my class. Love you. Peace out. Now you can hang up that phone and devote yourself to what you're doing. Devote yourself. Understand the importance of doing one thing and doing it well. Can you make mistakes at the one thing? Of course you can. Will you forget stuff? Always. I do. I forget little things as I try. I try to make it so that when I change a tire, I go in steps and I already know my steps. So as long as I follow the steps, I will not forget anything because it's part of the steps. But if I'm doing my steps and then I have to answer my phone because Nancy or one of the kids called, now I'm on my phone, I'll forget what step I'm on. So I put my phone away, handle the steps. I won't have forgotten because I followed my steps and I get the job done perfectly. 2, be a fan of life, of learning. Life is about learning. I remember when I was your age. I'm 51 now. I remember life when I was 16, 17, 18. I remember it was like yesterday. I remember the power of my body, the litheness, Litheness. It means my ability to move smoothly. I remember somebody would throw me a football and I would lazily just catch it like magic. They would throw it and be like, whoop, yeah, I got that. What? How my body responded to what I wanted it to do. Could jump, spin, roll, playing football, wrestling, martial arts, being in tune with my body, and having that mindset of everything being new and awesome. I don't have that anymore. I've seen the world. I remember what it was like when I got, and some of you can maybe relate. I got a ring. It was my class ring, but any ring will do. And in the ring was a gemstone, a big one. And I remember walking outside for the first time going, hey, Mom, Dad, look at my class. And the sun caught it. And I was like a kitty cat with a ball of yarn. I was like, whoa, pretty colors in this. Like immediately mesmerized by this gemstone in a ring. Right? Seeing a rainbow for their first time. That wonder, that desire to learn. What is that? Rainbow. How is a rainbow made? Well, how does that there? And so you can get on Google and you get to read rainbows and how sunshine gets diffracted through all of those little droplets of water in the airborne mist, which is just really fine, itty bitty little raindrops that the wind is actually keeping up. There's wind currents keeping this water from falling down, and the particulates are super small, so they don't fall with any weight. They just kind of suspend themselves, and the light comes through them, and in going through the light, it diffracts, and it diffracts on such a scale that it diffracts into the various colors of the visual electromagnetic spectrum. That's what you're seeing is Roy G. Biv. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And if our eyes could, we'd see ultraviolet or infrared on the other side. Be a fan of learning because it makes the world. For me, I learn because it's the one place left where I get that mindset of, oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. That aha moment of something new in front of you. And you get that at my age from learning. And I'm trying to tell you, at your age, you can get aha moments not only from the world around you, just looking around and going, oh, I've never seen that before. Oh, I've never seen that before. And you can get it from learning. So not only do you get the, oh, I've never seen that before, and now I know about it. So not only do you see it, but you know about it. Cultivate the importance of learning. The importance of learning and loving what you learn. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't read so well. Maybe you have dyslexia. Maybe you have some form of reading visual challenges. Maybe your eyesight's bad and no one's ever checked you for glasses. You know, you need glasses. And like, oh, I can focus now. I can see letters. Maybe you had learning challenges when you were younger and you spoke Spanish first. You spoke French first or Italian first. And now you're learning English as a second language. And English just doesn't come as easy to you. Make it a point to make it come to you. Make it bend to your will. Don't go, no, it's too hard. I don't want to learn. No, you want to learn. And the good things are a little tough. They're supposed to be a little tough. The harder it is to learn, the better it is. You know, I can draw certain lines in the sand. There's no reason for any of us to learn trigonometry right now. I know it a little bit. I don't know it enough to teach, but I do know knowing trigonometry, knowing calculus has made certain things easier, but by no means do I require trigonometry or calculus to go through my life. I can do just fine without it, for the most part. Physics. You all know I love physics. You all know I love the sciences and learning new things in that regard. And it's not just learning things. It is just learning things. I love learning new things because it gives me that moment that I miss having from when I was a kid and the world was new around me, just like you are now. But instead of it being in the physical world, it's in the mental world. So learn how to learn. Cultivate a curious mind. Next item. Learn how to use the English language. I love speaking multiple languages. You guys know I speak several languages. Yo tengo 5 años en escuela por español. See, I took 5 years of Spanish in school, and it's in my head, and I wish to speak it again, and you guys are going to help me out. Street Spanish is going to be different than Scholastic Spanish, and I would simply tell you guys this. If Español es tu prima lengua, if Spanish is your first language, habla español con perfección. Speak Spanish with perfection. Be eloquent in Spanish. Recognize that English is your second language and you're learning it. But if Spanish is your first language, you need to be perfect in it. Learn it not just to talk to people, but to effectively communicate ideas that you have from your heart. and bring that out. Not even in English. If Spanish is your first language and that's really, you speak it everywhere, and English on the side, learn English, because everyone, it's the language that the community speaks. But if tú hablas español con tu familia, then you want to speak Spanish with confidence, perfection, and eloquence. To speak eloquently is to use beautiful words to get across your ideas in ways that draw pictures in the minds of the people you're speaking to. Case in point, I can describe to you how to drink water out of a bottle 2 ways. Place the polyester container of fluids in your left hand. With your right hand, grasp the upper sealing cap. Rotate in a counterclockwise rotational manner, letting go and re-gripping as your wrist allows, removing the cap. When the threading has released itself, bring the open end of the container to your mouth. Tip the bottom of the container up. Accept the liquid from inside into your mouth and swallow. That's boring. Or you can say, hold on. Can't talk right now. What's up? Or you can say, as I sat in front of my computer speaking to my amazing students about learning in life, I looked with interest at my PBA-free bottle of refreshing water. I opened the cap in excitement and anticipation of the cold liquid therein. I took a swig and enjoyed the refreshment that the water provided, not just in nourishing my body, but revitalizing me and making me feel at one with the universe. What's more fun to listen to? And if you ask a German, the German would go, well, obviously it's the first fun. This is a specific and scientific way of describing how to open up the can or the bottle. Sorry, I'm part German. I get to make fun of my Germans. With a name, with a name like Kurt Romer, I'm not Irish. There's only one nation I can come from with a name like Kurt Romer. This is from Germany. I love my German accent. My middle name Yaroslav is for my mother's side of the family are Ukrainian. Da, from Mother Ukraina, we speak in Ukrainian. Anyways, learn your language. And I've let that slip. My Ukrainian is horseshit now. I've really fallen off. And Ukrainian was at one point the language I thought in. And I had to translate. And then I started to learn as I got older, I can switch my brain from one language to the next. That was fun, being able to mindset from language to language. I have not yet progressed to the fluency that my grandfather had. My grandfather knew 9 languages fluently and could translate on the fly from any one language to another language. Now, it's one mean feat for me to translate on the fly if I listen to someone speaking English and having to translate "Що він сказав по-українськи," what he said into Ukrainian. It is yet another thing to hear someone speaking en español and translating it auf Deutsch. Hearing Spanish translating into German, skipping English and Ukrainian completely, or French, which was another language I spoke when I was a child. My father was French Canadian by way of Germany. He was French Canadian, Quebecois, Quebecer. And because of that, as a child, he grew up speaking French to me. And I picked up French as a child. And I mean we, like 0 to 3 years of age. Je parlais français. And was good at it. So I had two competing languages when I was younger. I had Ukrainian and French. And then after that, my grandparents spoke German to me because I had grandparents from the German side. My father's side, they were German. So Grandma Josephine, gesprochen auf Deutsch with me. She spoke German to me. Mich ich. And English came in as like language number 4 when I was finally going to school when I was like 5 years old, to kindergarten or whatever. And my teachers thought I was mentally challenged, so I couldn't pick up the language because I had other languages working, and I would jumble languages. You know, I want ich gewonnen. You know, I want ich gewonnen. Milk is moloka in Ukrainian, so ich gewonnen moloka. And they would go, we have no idea what he's talking about. It's jumbled. And my mother was like, he speaks perfectly at home. And they're like, no, we can't understand anything. She's like, let me listen. And then she would, listen in on a conversation I was having with my teacher, and goes, oh, he doesn't know the English word for milk or whatever it is. And he's just picking the Ukrainian one because he knows what that is in Ukrainian, or he knows what it is in German, or he knows what it is in French. And so the words I didn't use, I simply picked up from other languages. But to an English only speaking teacher, I had mud in my mouth. I was like, blah, 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 blah. Kitty cat. Even though I said I really want to pet the kitty cat, I picked it from 3 different languages. And so I will say to you, again, point number 2, speak your language. If it's going to be Spanish, speak Spanish, make it perfect. Be the person with college level words, even if you don't go to college. 90%. So here's the thing. You can dress up in a business suit, go to an interview, and show up to an interview looking like $1 million, tie on, jacket on, arm on the desk, eyebrow up like rock, right? Owning the interview visually. And then when the interviewer goes, please tell me your name and describe the work that you do right now. And you go, my name is Yuri. I fish of Adriatic coast, am good fisherman. They're going to go, okay, Yuri, I hear you're a fisherman. This is a job for automotive. Yeah. We have a job opening up, pushing a broom. Is good. I will push broom. That's what you're going to get. But if you speak eloquently, even with a Russian accent, good afternoon, my name is Yuri. I was fisherman for 20 years, but went to gymnasium and university 4 years and learned automotive. So now I turn wrench. And I'm looking for elusive 10mm socket. Have you found? Everyone at the meeting laughs. Ha ha ha. He knows the joke of 10mm. Oh, they're always missing. You're hired. It's not about the accent. It's about, can you talk? Can you use the words in the industry that you're picking? And can you speak well enough to be understood? And it doesn't matter what language you speak. It could be Russian. It could be Spanish. It could be Italian. All those languages. You can speak the patois of the Quebec. They speak like this, huh? They sound as slightly like they have brain damage. But if I speak with just a little bit of conciseness, now I sound like smart Frenchman with good education. Fake the funk. Learn to use big words. Get to know what they mean. Learn your language. And coincidentally, you might only speak Spanish, and if you go to the right jobs, they go, you might say English not so good, fluent in Greek, Efstathios, fluent in Greek. And they go, well, hold on a second. We have someone who's Greek over here. He can translate, hey, Nicholas Tselengidi, come here. I don't know who Nick Tselengidi might be in his family, but we'll bring him over. Efstathios says he can speak Greek. Can you step in for a quick minute? And Greek guy comes in, and they look at each other, and they start speaking in Greek to each other. The guy who speaks Greek that works for the company may go, this is a smart dude. He knows what he's doing. It's just English isn't his jam right now. But man, he knows what he's talking about. They'll go, we can work with this. If he knows his jam, he knows what he's doing, we're good. Learn to speak your native language brilliantly. Last but not least, learn to learn. Learn to learn. So often I hear people say, I don't like reading. I'm a hands-on kind of kid. It's because you haven't figured out the way that you can learn. And hands-on is only part of the game. It's also a lazy way out. Period. It's lazy. You're 18. You're 20. All of you are under 25. There's no reason on God's green earth, and I'm an atheist when I say that, there's no reason on God's green earth that you have to be lazy. That's a personal thing that I can't change or help with. You have to make the commitment, the decision to get in the game. EA Sports. Get in the game. Don't float. Don't call it in. Don't sandbag. Don't sit on the sidelines going, yay team. Get in the game. Put your feet on the court. Get the ball. I don't care your age. I don't care your learning style. If you have disabilities, I don't care any of that. Get in the game. We'll figure it all out. But I need you in the game first. And the game is learning. That's the game where you're at. Learning. Learn to like learning. How do you do that? Simple. I'll break it down for you. Look in the mirror and go, I don't know anything, but I want to learn. Learning makes me better. That's it. Look in the mirror. I do it. Man, I don't know anything. I know some things, but I don't know everything. And the more that I know, the more I recognize I don't know. But I'm happy to learn. Learning is cool. Learning is fun. Learning something is that moment that I go, that's cool, right? And we all get to have that 5-year-old who sees his first Hot Wheels car. Yo, I remember that feeling of seeing my first Matchbox car. It's why Matchbox cars, I love them. I love having them in the shop. I love giving them to you guys. I love that moment of, it's a miniature car that I like. Oh, I can imagine myself, right? And playing with it. And it's that beautiful moment that I had when I was younger. And I don't even remember how old I was. of just seeing that little car and the plastic wrap and the paper back that said Hot Wheels. My first one was a Hot Wheels. Matchbox. They're both companies that make them, and either one, they don't matter. They're the same. And ripping apart the paper and getting the car out in my hand, how it felt, that hard, solid metal, and the wheels that spun, and the doors. They used to have doors and hoods that open. I don't know if they do that anymore. Some cars they do. The doors would open and you could see inside. Oh my God, I was infatuated with it for days. I remember my mom and my sister making fun of me, like Kurt's got a new whoopee. I'm like, forget the blanket. I got my Hot Wheels, man. And then when another one showed up, I was like, I could have a collection. I could have a garage. Take them, and I would go outside in the backyard, or you can do it in the living room, and you would make a little road where they would drive and park, and I learned. I learned about cars. I didn't know I was learning about cars, but I was learning about cars. And I was a kid. So much of what I do is tied to teaching you when you don't know you're being taught. I'll let you in on that trick, that little secret. Everything I do is part of teaching. Everything I do, how I talk, the words that I use, the emotions that I show. It all teaches you. I cry in front of you guys. You guys have seen me fold up. You guys have seen me cry in the shop. Not only do I have my feelings, but I am showing you that a strong man, a silverback gorilla of a man, I have power, I have strength, I have mental fortitude. I can get hurt and just go, meh. I've chipped my face on metal objects, bleeding and parts falling out. And all I did was, look at me, I look like a hockey player. But I also show that it's okay to cry. That is perfectly acceptable for a man to show his feelings. I do so to teach you that and to show you having feelings is normal. Having feelings is absolutely what it is to be a real man in the 21st century. None of this real men don't cry bullshit. It's hogwash. Idiots wrote that. Idiots say that. Real human beings absolutely show their feelings. We try to compose ourselves after a short period. But you got to let it out. That's Tay-Tay. So it is incredibly important for you guys to want to learn. If you say to me, Mr. Romer, I don't read very well. So I don't like learning out of books. I just like learning with my hands. I'll say to you, okay, I hear you. You like learning with your hands. But it is just important that you read out of a book. Let's find out why book learning is so tough for you. Maybe it's because you had some crappy teachers who didn't care whether you read or not. The idea then is to go, okay, let's get something you want to read. It's all about the desire. Man, you can't teach anyone anything if they don't want to learn it. I can teach till I'm blue in the face, and if you don't want to learn it, not only am I wasting my time, but I'm wasting your time too. We're both wasting time. You're in a place where you don't want to learn, and I'm running my mouth on someone who's just not picking up what I'm putting down. And it's frustrating, and then I don't teach well, and I have to reset. But if you genuinely get your foot in the game, you speak like you're committed to the game, and you commit yourself to wanting to learn in the game, you're going to be a winner. You're going to make it, and you're going to do well at life. A lot of what we teach isn't just about mechanicking, being a mechanic. It's about being a winner at life, learning how to better yourself for the long run, not for the tomorrow, but the 20 years down the road. And I know you guys can't see that. That's the last part of the human brain to form, is future thought, future self. That your daily actions impact your future. I remember I done some dumbass shit I wish I never did. If the adult me can go back in time, I would, don't do that. You know, okay, I won't do it. Sorry. You know, and not do the thing that I did because it impacted me as an adult. And it didn't impact me in ways that other people knew. It impacts me in the things that I think, that I know that I did and I shouldn't have done. And I wake up every once in a while going, oh, I have no idea why I did that. That really sucked. Ah, Jesus Christ, that was bad of me. Shouldn't have done that. And I had to carry that around. You only live once, and live your life. But live your life knowing that you have to look at yourself in the mirror every morning. Do that, man. Know that you've got to live with your own decisions. Don't just go, oh, whatever, man, I don't care. When people say, oh, I don't care, it means they're hurting inside. I don't care, man, whatever. I don't care, whatever. You can say whatever, man, whatever. I don't care. When I hear people saying that now, it means they're dealing with something hard. And they're trying so much that they can't handle another thing on top of it. So it's easier just to not deal with it rather than go, breathe, and all right, I need to verbalize what I'm dealing with. Because a lot of people are scared that if you go, all right, man, why you act like that? Whatever, man, I don't care. No, you do care. Tell me. And then you hear, man, yeah, I saw a guy hit a squirrel with a car, and it made me upset. And everyone's going to laugh at me because I'm upset because the squirrel got it. No, dude, no one's laughing. It sucks seeing something get killed, even a squirrel. Squirrels are, and you guys know I've rescued them. When they become okay with human interaction, they're like dogs on crack. They run everywhere. They want to get pet. They want to run around and bite things. They're great. They're a lot of fun. They have personalities. And so when you see something like that get squished, it hurts. You've got to be able to learn that it's okay to speak your feelings. And that when you say stuff like, I don't care, man, whatever, it's your way of pulling back and not dealing with whatever it is that you have to deal with. Maybe that'll be point number 4. How can I wrap up? Own your stuff. Own it. Don't, because when you go, I don't care, whatever, man, you're going to yell at me, whatever. When you do that behavior, you're not owning it. You need to own it. You need to stop and go, I really don't want to hear anymore because I'm having problems processing what everyone's telling me I'm doing wrong because I don't like feeling wrong. And that's what it usually is. People don't want to feel like they've done something wrong. People don't like getting yelled at. Because usually what the message is, you get it from moms, you get it from dads, you get it from your aunties and uncles and grandparents. They're going to yell at you and they're going to call you names, even other people. They're going to call you names. They're going to try to make you feel bad for having made the mistake. I get that. I've had it all my life. My dad used to call me nicknames that made fun of me in front of my friends. My dad. And I know some of you guys are like, oh, that's all your dad did? I know there are some dads out there that did horrible things to you guys. I'm just saying from my perspective for this moment in teaching you. I know that people don't like to get yelled at, negativized, minimized. My finger hurts, man. I cut it on a paper cut. Someone goes, "That's nothing, man. I had my finger chopped off. Quit your moaning and groaning on your paper cut." And I'd be like, "Nah, man." I'll be the first person to tell you, paper cuts suck. That's like a little torture, right? Sucks. Own what it is you're going through and what you're feeling. You know, a lot of people are terrified of being made fun of for not knowing something. And my response is admit to it and then turn around and go, how the hell was I supposed to know that? So-and-so didn't know that V8s never came in early Hondas. You go, how was I supposed to know that? I'm not a Honda fanboy. I'm a Nissan guy. Put it on them. Put it on their insecurities and insufficiencies. You're just a human being going through life, and you can use the statement, man, I'm just trying to learn. I don't know why you're getting all personal on it. I didn't know, so I'd like to learn. And as soon as you say that, I didn't know, and I'd like to learn, 99% of the times people will shut up and go, oh. Because you can't make fun of someone for wanting to learn and admitting they didn't know. I'll be the first person to know, hey, Romer, how does that free valve system for Koenigsegg work? Air, pneumatic, solenoid actuated valves, maybe. I don't know how specifically. I'll learn. I'll watch the videos. I want to learn because Koenigsegg's are cool, man. I'll learn. I'll learn that. Just got to give me a minute. You know, I remember asking the class, "Hey guys, what does no caps mean?" And later I found out it means you're not lying. And I remember being, and I have my age and my privilege behind it. And I went, how the heck did you get no caps came from do not lie or I'm not lying? And it had something to do with capital letters when people respond, I'm not lying in capital letters. No caps. No, I'm not lying, capital letters, no caps. I imagined something like that. That's like somebody said something like that to me, and I went, oh, okay. And they started laughing. Mr. Romer didn't know how no caps meant. And I looked at whatever student it was and went, I'm supposed to know this why? And turned it on them. I'm like, how am I supposed to know this? And then walk away because you know you're right. Don't be afraid to admit you don't know something. Don't be the guy that knows over everything. I sure as hell don't. Be the person who goes, I don't know, but I will find out. That's an even more effective statement because it takes personal ownership and it provides a power statement behind it. You will never go wrong. And it's like slightly implied, not a threat, but like one. Someone's like, yeah, man. Romer doesn't even know what no caps means. And now I should have said, you're right, I don't. I'm going to find out. Is that a threat? What's going on? No, I don't know, and I'm going to find out. You turn it on its head. You do a little mental judo. You can go, Mr. Romer, I don't know how to read. You might be afraid of someone going, man, he doesn't know how to read. No, I didn't. I don't know how to read. I have dyslexia. I am also, I have learning disabilities, and so I have challenges on how to read. I can do a lot of other things. Reading's difficult for me. You want to cut me some slack while I'm learning? You can turn that. You can turn someone making fun of your inability to do something like reading, and you can turn it on them and smash them with it. Because then they're like, yo, I didn't know you had like reading disabilities, man. And I thought you were just lazy or something. And you got dyslexia, though. So my bad. I'm sorry. Right? You could flip that script on them and make it so that you don't have to be afraid to admit when you don't know how to do something. Freely admit the thing you don't know and just follow it up with the words, but I'm learning, I want to learn, or that whole, but I'm going to find out. And you know where that comes from and why it's so powerful? It's because when we were younger and our parents would say, "Who broke the dish?" And you and all your siblings are like, and your mom or dad go, "You guys better tell me or I'm going to find out." That's where it came from. Now I understand why I made that statement. I'm going to find out. Well, you can do that. You can use that term. I'm going to find out. And it'll make people who's trying to make fun of you go, oh, okay. All right, man, why you got to be all angry at me now? Flip the script on them. Put them on their heels. Don't be afraid to admit you don't know something. You're not God. You ain't Einstein. Even Einstein didn't know everything. Einstein knew mathematics and physics. He could abstractly conceptualize. He could think about things in bizarre manners, about the inner workings of the molecule and the universe in general. The man forgot daily to brush his teeth, comb his hair, and when to eat. He had no idea how to make scrambled eggs. His wife did that for him. One of the world's leading physicists, a brainiac of the ages, didn't know how to make scrambled eggs. You can tell him crack eggs in a skillet and cook it. I'm sure all of you, I'll even say this, all of you with street smarts can cook some scrambled eggs. Yeah? I know I'm right. I know you all can. All you came up, each and every one of you came up having to take care of yourselves at a certain point and having to know how to make some scrambled eggs. Einstein didn't for a while. He was like, don't know the kitchen, don't know the first thing. His ideas were in the clouds. His head was in numbers. Daily life eluded him. Daily life was alien to him. Yeah. You know, Albert, brush your teeth. What do I got to do now? Brush the teeth? Okay, I brush the teeth. Anything else, dear? Don't forget to comb your hair. That's why you always see Albert Einstein like this. Man routinely did not comb his hair. Because his head wasn't there, man. His head wasn't there. His head was in different places. So, I've talked about enough of life. Let's talk about, briefly, we'll go through the glossary, and we'll check some stuff out. Oh, aluminum rod. Oh, and we're reading from glossary. CDX. A lightweight, strong, either cast or forged metal shaft that connects the piston assembly to the crankshaft assembly. So, we're going to talk about connecting rods. The connecting rod is your shin. The connecting rod is your shin. Your knees are your piston tops. Your ankle and feet are the bottom of the connecting rod where it attaches to the crank. So when you are on your bicycle, your crankshaft are the pedals, which is a crankshaft. Your pedals are part of the crankshaft of the bike. So that's perfectly acceptable. The pedals on your bike are the crankshaft. And it is a crank. Like you go to the bike store and need pedals on a crank. The cranks are the two long pieces and the pedals. Those are crankshafts. And they're connected in the middle. So it's crankshaft. The bottom of your feet are the bearing surfaces where it meets the pedal. That's a bearing surface. Your ankle provides the pivoting action that the bearing provides at your feet. Your knee is the power point production for your thighs. When your thighs push down, they push down on your knee, and your knee through the shin bones, the tibula and fibula, radius ulna, tib fib. Tibula is up front, fibula is in the back. So the tib fib is the connecting rod, connecting your knee where your thigh pushed. So your thigh is like the explosion in a cylinder. Your knee is what your thigh pushes down on. That gets transmitted down to your foot, which is the bottom of the connecting rod that rotates. And it transmits that power to the crankshaft, just like in an engine. So the connecting rod is your shin. That shin has the ability, if this is your knee and this is your foot, your knee and this is your knee, this is your foot, right? You can move your foot back and forth and your knee can move, but this connecting rod only pivots at the top and the bottom. The middle is just a strong, solid piece of material. In our body, it's bone. In an engine, it can be made from aluminum. You can have cast iron. Old time stuff is built that way. You can have connecting rods built of steel, titanium, tungsten, copper. I know some earlier Stirling engines, the connecting rod is made of brass. Excuse me, not copper, brass. So brass is copper and tin. A little bit of silver, a little bit of chromium, and a little bit of lead all mixed in together with the copper, and you get brass. So all brass is an alloy of copper. An alloy is a mixture of metals that change the properties of the base metal. So in this case, designers of engines, the engineers, right, the scientists behind all the goodness of making cars, said cast iron are heavy, super strong but super heavy, and that's rotational mass. We don't want that. It's like pedaling a bike wearing super heavy boots with cinder blocks underneath them. Heavy. Lifting them up. They might help a little bit on the way down, but your other side's got to come up too, so it's a loss. Now it's just moving that extra weight. Sucks. So they said, well, steel's good. What's lighter than steel but still strong when you alloy it right? Aluminum. So there are aluminum alloys, not soft aluminum like awnings are made of from Walmart. That's cheap aluminum. But specific aluminum that's been melted with certain other metals and elements in it to make it really strong. So there's and I'll quote the two processes that they have listed: cast or forged. Same, well, not same thing, but different process ends. So forged is from cast. You can have machined billet, which is different. But forging and casting are all, so you cast it first and then you can forge from that. You can cast it and then machine it, which is, they wrote it wrong. So here's the two different ways that you can make this. I'll take you through several processes of an aftermarket aluminum connecting rod that connects the piston top to the connecting or to the crankshaft. Okay. Oh, wait, before I go into the three methods, so connecting rod has the bottom round part that sits on top of the crankshaft, right? The bearing point, that bearing surface, that round bearing surface that goes around with the crankshaft. And then it's capped with an end cap holding on to that round part of the crankshaft that goes around. That's part of the throw, that arm, crankshaft arm. The crankshaft then starts off wide and makes its way thinner as it gets up towards the piston. Now it connects to the piston via another round part, but it's a round cylinder that goes through the piston from left to right. This is called a wrist pin. A wrist pin, just like your wrist. So if this is the connector rod, this is the piston. So the piston can go up and down, and the connecting rod can make this go around motion while keeping the piston perfectly flat. You don't want the piston in its cylinder wall, in its sleeve. You don't want that piston flopping about. That's why a piston has skirts. That's why a piston isn't just this flat pancake thing on top of your connecting rod. Because anytime the connecting rod would go left or right, that flat pizza plate of a piston top would lean away from the edges, and then pressure and anything else occurring in that compression zone would leak by. So the piston needs to be able to be perfectly lined up and go up and down perfectly within the cylinder wall. And the only way you can do that is if you connect it to the connecting rod, would hold on to a wrist pin that goes through the piston. And I'll find a video that describes this, or you guys can go find a video that describes the use of a wrist pin and connecting rod. Now that I've described the different parts of the connecting rod, you can also know that the aluminum that is poured, so there's two ways to use aluminum. You can forge it, or you can have it as a billet. So we'll talk about billet first, because it's easier. So billet is, you go to a place that manufactures molten aluminum, and you go, I need a 12-inch by 4-inch by 5-inch ingot of aluminum. And so they'll go out and they will go to a big block of generally the right size and slice you off a piece of aluminum to a specific alloy. So I need like T56 aluminum. I need it 12 inches long, 2 inches deep, and 6 inches wide, because I want to be cutting out a connecting rod. So what they've done was, if you go over to this company and they go, all right, we need T56, which is a specific type of alloy, aluminum alloy, which they get in ingot form. It's like this massive, massive piece of which they cut you off a slice at the end. So you take this slice of aluminum. Oh, and by the way, the company that gets this big piece of aluminum, that's been poured out of a molten cask into a form of a long bar, an ingot, right? An ingot can be 12 feet long and 1 foot wide and 1 foot deep. And it's this like long bar of aluminum. And it's poured as T56, because that's the different ingredients that went into the melting pot when the aluminum was melted before they poured it into this mold and they came out with this shape of aluminum. It's T56 is the type of list of chemicals that goes into the alloy. So at the forge, they pour out an ingot of it, and the ingot cools, and then they polish it, they prep it for shipping, and they ship it to the company. So you show up to the company and go, I need this size T56. And so they get the general measurement, they go and they cut it, and they weigh it, and they go, okay, this is, $50. So you take your $50 ingot of aluminum, you go back to your shop, you load it up into your CNC cutting machine, you type in the computer the shape that you want, you use your mouse and you make the design of what it's going to be, and you enter it, and then you say print or cut, right? And the thing goes, and it cuts the shape of the aluminum piece that you want out of a solid billet of aluminum. You are shipped, you are given the piece of aluminum, and like a sculptor, you remove all the material you don't need, leaving the material item itself. That is billet aluminum. Now, cast and forged is you become the producer. Say someone says, well, I want T56 aluminum. Oh, so now you got to research what are the mixtures of all the various things of aluminum and what goes into it. Or you get the list of what goes into T56 and you go to the foundry and you go, look, I'm going to be making some castings of intake manifolds or connecting rods. I don't have a CNC machine, but I do have a furnace. So I'm going to be making some casts. Can you give me T56? The guy's like, sure. How much by weight do you need? And I said, well, I'm making 4 connecting rods. It's a 4-cylinder motor. Each connecting rod is going to be around 2 pounds a piece, 3 pounds. So let's call it 4 for each. So I need 4 times 4 is 16. Give me 16 pounds of T56 aluminum. So he goes back there with his bandsaw and cuts off a chunk of aluminum. Here you go. You go, great. Take the aluminum, you go back to your shop. Now, you don't have a CNC lathe, but you do have a furnace. And you go, okay, what are we going to do? Well, you get your crucible out. That's that pottery jar, and you stick the aluminum in it. You cover it. And you stick it in your furnace. And you turn the furnace to 3,000 degrees. Now, it's already pre-mixed. All you're doing is melting it like an ice cube. Like, you go into the store, you get an ice cube, stick it in the thing, stick it in the microwave, and you melt the. Now you have to re-ice it. So here comes the fun part about what cast is. So while your aluminum is melting in the furnace, in the crucible made of pottery fired, whatever, ceramic, you're in the shop and you've got this big box the size of this book. Yeah. And it's got wood sides and a wood bottom. And there on the side is another piece of wood that you can put over the top of it. Now you go into your shop and you get a connecting rod already shaped. Maybe it's a connecting rod you want to reproduce. So what you do is you take this connecting rod and you go down and you put it into this special sand. And you push and you take a hammer and you tamp in the connecting rod. You add some more sand, and now that the connecting rod's down in there, and you take the sand and you fill it up, and you smooth it over, and you hammer it some more, you smooth it over, right? Until you have a perfect imprint in this special sand called casting sand. And the image you have, you tap sand into place. Then you take a magnet, because maybe the connecting rod's steel, and you click it on your connecting rod in the sand, and it pulls it out, and you gently put that over, and now you'll see in your mold a perfect copy of the connecting rod. So then you take your other piece of wood that might have like a steel, or no, it might just be wood safe. There are some metals that are releasing metals that won't melt when you pour in the aluminum, but whatever. So you have your piece of wood and you're good. You take a tube or whatever it is that you want, and you put it in the sand to the edge so the tube connects where the casting is, where that hole is where the original connecting rod was, and it goes to the edge of the wood. Now you got to make the wood have a little U shape so that when you put the tube down, it goes into that little indent of wood that's been cut away so that it lays flat. So that when you take your other sheet of wood and put it down over this with that little tube sticking out the top, and you can hammer the nails in on the edges to make a solid form. Once your form is in with the tube sticking out, tube, and here's your form. End piece of wood has been hammered on. Inside of this form, these all have wood edges. The sand is in there. You want to handle it gently. Is the form of a connecting rod. And so now you reach into your oven, you get the crucible of molten aluminum T56 alloy, and you pour it into the mold, into the tube that has gone into the mold sand cavity. And you keep pouring until it burbles to the top. And then you take and you gently tap it to get the air bubbles out. And pour it some more. Tap it to get rid of the bubbles all over. Just tap. You're not trying to break the sand. You're the sand mold. You're just trying to encourage air bubbles to get out. And when you feel confident, no more, the aluminum level doesn't go down anymore. You give it a little shake, and maybe you want to rock it from side to side a little bit. Make sure any air pockets can percolate to the top, because it'll stay molten for quite a bit because it's sand, and sand is an insulator. Then you pour the rest, and all of the aluminum that you want to use for that one is poured out and into your form. And so you put that form on the table, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait until the aluminum inside solidifies a little bit. So maybe you want to put it on the table like this first. And you wait until the top of that cap where the aluminum has been poured into this steel tube, if you will, has been, maybe it's plastic or whatever it is that you've chosen, whatever medium, has hardened a little bit. So you know that at least if you put it on its side, aluminum is not going to go drooling out. And so you wait until it's somewhat cool, and then you take and you wait some more, and there's graphs and charts that you can follow along. You know, if it's packed in this big a container, wait 6 hours or wait 12 hours or wait 1 hour. Hell, you could probably take it and put it in a fridge and cool it off. Not liquid nitrogen, just like a fridge. Once that's done, you know the aluminum is cooled off, you take off with the pry bar the top of the mold, you take the tube, and you pull out the entire new cast connecting rod. It is an exact aluminum duplicate of whatever connecting rod you put in. Okay, Mr. Romer, that's a cast aluminum connecting rod. You still need to have the inner surfaces machined so that you need to be able to make sure that those surfaces are polished and measured. There's a lot that you need to do, but that's generally how you get a cast aluminum piece. Now, forging aluminum is taking that same cast piece, taking it with a pair of tongs while it's still hot. It's still solid aluminum, but you can take it and put it in 500-degree heat. And you can take a general casting, and then while it's malleable, which means you can hit it with a hammer and it will start to bend, malleable. It's not breaking, it's not deforming, it's just bending. You can take an aluminum piece and put it on, and you can hammer forge it, right? Tapping out, getting all the stress lines out. You're not looking to change the shape of it. but you're just hammering gently away at getting rid of the stress lines. You're getting all the stress lines lining up. And then you take it and you cool it off. The cooling off process is called quenching. Quenching adds hardness and brittleness to soft metals. So then let's say you take it out of the cold water or oil, you stick it back in the furnace. You wait till it's nice and hot, like 500 degrees, not melting. We're not trying to remelt it. We're just trying to get it so that when we bring it out and I hit it with my hammer gently, not ding, ding, because you're just going to break it or bend it horribly. You're just forging out. You're taking it and you're tapping it so that you're getting rid of all the stress lines in it. Because when you hammer on something, you angle the stress lines to go along with the grain of metal that you're working with. And so you forge out all the stress lines and you keep the general shape of the item and you heat it and you cool it in an annealing process. That is forging. So you end up with a piece of cast aluminum that you've now put through the forging process, right? Or you can go super old school and basically take a solid tube of aluminum, stick it until it's warm enough to form, and you hammer beat a piece of aluminum into the shape of a connecting rod. And that's old school forging. Forge forming is technically what it is. And forge forming is some way old school, and you are not going to be anywhere near the level of tolerances and tightness of measurement that you need. Forge forming is for like swords from back in the day. Can you make one? Sure, but you're going to spend 3 weeks making one connecting rod, right? I don't care how good a blacksmith or alloy smith you are. It's going to take you a time to make one connecting rod. But forging in this case is you take a cast piece, put it in the heat, and you stress relieve the metal by tapping it and putting it somewhere cold. And the hot and cold process builds up an outer hard layer. The inner layers stay still somewhat malleable, but the outer layer starts to become really strong. And when you forge that strong outside layer, all the stress marks go out. It becomes a very strong item. Brittle, chippable, but strong. And so each one of those has its own pluses and minuses. Those are the processes that you can take aluminum through. Either you take a big piece and you put it through a CNC mill and you basically router cut the shape of your connecting rod. And this can be like perfection. You can put micrometers on it. It'll be just the right size because a big machine cut it. Or you can take it, pour it in a mold, and then give that mold over to a machine that cuts several things out. Usually just the bearing surface location will be machined. The rest of it will just be whatever it is you poured. And last but not least, forge will take a cast pouring and hammer out all of the stress risers and stress points, and you strengthen it by annealing it. Has your brain stopped working? I hope so. It's been an hour that I've been talking about this, as well as the other 10-minute video. Fist bump, everybody. Fist bump. Boom.